My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. It's a Sunday showdown between two teams who could well have been in the top half of the table. They're not, they're struggling, but it also means it can make for a very entertaining and interesting clash, with at least one of them looking at more value to those 2 points than the other. We'll talk about all that and so much more with our panel, our expert panel in the studio, Zaheer Khan and Robin Uthappa. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
It's obviously set up for an interesting clash. Sometimes even when you're not right at the top of the points table, that itself, when you're close to each other, wherever you are, makes for a fascinating clash.
Yeah, definitely. I think more than that, if you see in this World Cup, every game has been very interesting. We've seldom seen a game that's been pretty boring to watch. Every game has been extremely exciting. There's some excitement that's occurred during the course of the game that's made the game so much more fun to watch. But having said that, these two teams would definitely want to have a win under their belt, especially Pakistan coming from where they have come from, and literally the stark difference in quality or the class of cricket that the previous game had between the two teams. And South Africa would want to win under their belt, given how they've performed in this tournament. Also, the last game, they must feel a little bad about how they lost against New Zealand.
Yeah, they'll obviously, they haven't played the worst cricket. If you look at where they are on the table, sometimes you can tell yourself, look, we were completely outplayed, but they weren't. And that's where they'll want to just finish off on a high.
Well, I think for both the teams, it's important that take a game at a time. That's something which is very important. At times, you tend to look at the table, what's happened, and you've not really found rhythm. Both the teams, both the teams have played decent cricket in patches. It's just that they don't have those 2 points to show, and that's something which in times like these, it's important that you just focus on the present, not really look at what has happened or what will happen. It's about playing cricket and just going out there, enjoying yourself, expressing yourself to the best of your ability, and try and get things moving, because at times you'll hear a lot of people talk about play for your pride. So this is something, a situation for both the teams. Pakistan more because they have one game in hand, so that's something which is giving them an outside chance of reaching in that top 4. So they should look at it that way. For South Africa, it's going to be more difficult, because they know that they even if they win all the 3 matches, they're going to finish on 9 points. So that is something, I think, looking at the table, is not going to help, because the net run rate is also something which is not in their favor. So more so, just for both the teams, it's just about playing for pride and making letting the whole world know that okay, they have the potential. It's just that they didn't start well in the tournament and things could have been different. So that's the way they will be looking at this game.
Yes, certainly will be, and no better place to express yourself than at the home of cricket, as the English like to think of it. There may be differing opinions on that, but certainly it's a fantastic venue to play at Lord's. Action moving in London from the Oval north of the Thames to Lord's. But you saw that points table and you would have noticed a certain team, the men in black, the All Blacks, the Black Caps, moving up to 11 points at the top of the table, and they did that because of an outstanding victory late last night against the West Indies. Yes, they had that man again, Kane Williamson, coming to their fore, coming to the rescue with 148 after they were 2 down in the first over. Lost Colin Munro and Martin Guptill. They recovered to make a very decent 291 for 8. But once Gale got going, Hetmeyer kept him company, and then the surprise package. Carlos Brathwaite, we had not forgotten the name, but not possibly quite in this format. Quite a finish it was to that game, and
wonderful finish.
Brathwaite wouldn't even have played had Andre Russell been fit.
Absolutely, but I think just the fact that he went out there and took the opportunity by, with both hands, and went out there and played the way he played, and he must be feeling terrible at this point in time, knowing that he was probably just 4 meters, maybe 2 meters away
Yes.
from winning that game. It must feel really, really bad.
Especially, Zaheer, after you've done all the hard work. If he had got out for 80, they lost by 30, 40 runs, you would have said, listen, there were too many runs on the board. But he gets to 100, gets 25 runs off a Matt Henry over. There's still 7 balls to go in the game, and he maybe has that dilemma. Do I take a single, take it to the last over, or go for it since I've been hitting sixes?
But that has been the story of this West Indies team in the World Cup so far. Like, they've been creating scenarios and situations where they could have closed games, but they've not been able to. So it just happens that way. I think, at times you've seen in cricket that teams get into that situation where they can close the games, and they couldn't. It happened to them in West Indies match, Australia match, when Australia was playing West Indies. They created that scenario where they could have won that match, and they lost the match by not that big a margin. Also Bangladesh game, and now this New Zealand game. So, when you have 3 games like this in a World Cup, it doesn't really help your cause in getting to that top 4. So Brathwaite's effort was brilliant. He soaked in pressure. He was batting with the tail.
Yeah.
So that is something which is remarkable about his innings. He kept things together. He was smart in terms of moving away from that slower one as well. So he looked in control, and when he hit that shot, he felt that it's almost a 6, because whatever he was connecting, it was just going out of the park.
Yeah.
So that must be disappointing for him. I mean, this kind of an innings and this kind of a win would have gone a long way for them in the tournament, and the table would have been even more interesting. The tournament would have been even more interesting for them going forward.
Yeah, and Zaheer kept mentioning this one being the key game, New Zealand West Indies, particularly for West Indies to win, but it wasn't to be. But for Brathwaite individually as well, everyone kept talking about for so long those 4 sixes at the Eden Gardens, but that even after that they were saying that's all he can do, and he's proved now.
Well, actually, the quality has always been there, but I think just the mindset with which the West Indians play is that if there are 2 options, and if there was one is a 6 hitting option and the other one is to run the score down at singles and twos, very clearly what option that is going to be taken. That's how they play cricket. So for fact that even now when they're back in the room, or when he's thinking about it, in hindsight he would have thought that was the only way to go for me. There was no way I would run the score down by taking singles and twos. So that kind of clarity is there. But I do agree with Zach when he said that there were opportunities in this tournament where they should have closed games down. And the bowling, there were opportunities where they could have closed game downs and they didn't. And those missed opportunities today have led to where they are at this point in time.
Yes, they'd probably be disappointed conceding 291 in the first place after having a team down with 2 golden ducks in the first over. But let's move away. Let's come back to Lords, Pakistan versus South Africa. Pakistan have won the toss, decided to bat first. Sometimes at Lords, teams get tempted by a bit of grass there, bit of the slope. Can we bowl first, take advantage? But they've decided runs on the board is the order of the day. 2 changes for the Pakistan team. And let's just confirm those for you. Haris Sohail coming in for Shoaib Malik, the experienced Shoaib Malik, and Shaheen Shah Afridi for the out-of-form Hassan Ali. And I think both these changes were exactly changes that we had forecast here on Cricbuzz Live, and they make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think the justified changes, and given how Shoaib Malik has played for Pakistan in England over the last few years, or if you look at his last few 10, 12 matches, you can see that his performances in England aren't the best. You know Shoaib Malik to be a certain kind of player, but these numbers and this thing what we're seeing on board right now doesn't do justice to who he is. And so I think just based on form, they would definitely go for a change up there. And Haris Sohail is someone, I think Asif Ali, given how he fielded and probably his mental makeup at this point in time, they decided that Haris Sohail was the best pick. And Shaheen Afridi should have been, should have come into this team probably a little bit earlier, because Hassan Ali did seem out of form from the get-go, from the first and second game. He didn't really seem like he was in form. But speaking about Sarfraz, it would have been a really difficult shoes to be filling in today, and he must have been really nervous during the toss, because after what happened in the last game, you wouldn't want to be winning the toss and choosing what to do. He would have much rather preferred to have lost the toss and South Africa decide what Pakistan should do, because even when you listen to the pitch report, you heard them saying that you could see there was a tinge of green on top, and that could have easily confused any captain to decide what should I do, given you're playing in English conditions.
Zaheer, you played enough at Lords. A lot of talk about the slope first. So for some of our viewers, just briefly explain to them why it makes such a difference there, especially for a fast bowler.
You can't escape that talk of slope when you get to that ground, and this is the first match, so the wicket will be fresh. And to add to that slope, yes, as a bowler you can utilize that slope well, and you've seen many a times where the left arm seamer especially bowl from the media end. So that is something which we've seen because of the slope. So natural delivery coming back in, with the slope it goes away. So, that creates the natural variation. So, that's something which at Lords does play on batsman's mind. Batsman is always wary of, because that slope is not a normal slope. Like, you can actually feel the difference. And
on your landing as well, when you're landing and all that?
Not on landing, but you can actually use the seam of the ball in a particular way to get that extra help from the wicket. That doesn't matter what kind of wicket it is. It can be flat wicket, but you can still have that angle going. So that is something which always around, in the both the teams will be talking about that going to Lords, and because it's a fresh wicket, we're not sure how it's going to play. There might be some help for the bowlers. So we'll have to wait and see whether Sarfaraz's decision to bat first is a reaction to what has happened after the India game, or he's actually just judged the wicket and gone about it. Because it will be a very, very bad thing if it happens that way. If it turns out to be a helpful wicket for the seamers, and you have the likes of Engedi and Rabada getting those early breakthroughs, then I think it is not going to help Pakistan's cause, because they had the opportunity after winning the toss to decide what should be the first thing to do.
If that does happen, he shouldn't go to the mall tomorrow then.
No, poor man shouldn't go anywhere. I think the only silver lining, if that really happens, would be the fact that Wasim Akram said that the grass is just like a camouflage, but they should bat first because underneath it's pretty dry.
Absolutely. Blame Wasim Akram for it if anything were to happen. But just to illustrate this for you, I'll just quickly show you. It's the slope. If you're looking, if this is one end of the ground and that's the other, it comes at an angle like this. So it's going across the ground slightly. So when a bowler bowls, depending on which side they're coming from, left arm or right arm, that's what they take advantage of. And I'm sure the South African seamers will be looking at that very, very closely. There's no changes in their side. So let's confirm the lineup for you. You've got Lungisani Ngidi, KG Rabada, Andile Peklukhwayo and Chris Morris, who will be their four-pronged attack with Imran Tahir as the leg spinner. So they haven't been tempted to go to Buran Hendricks, but despite being on the losing side, a settled lineup as things stand now.
Their bowling effort has been decent in this tournament. They've managed to take wickets. Even in the last match, it wasn't a high-scoring game, and they stayed in the game through and through. What has not happened for South Africa so far, and that's why bowling first is not a bad thing for them, because their batting has not been clicking. The likes of Quinton de Kock, Hashim Amla and Faf himself, has shown the glimpse of form, but has not really gone on to make that big score. You look at the sides who have made impact in this tournament so far. You have Kane Williamson, who has had 200s. You have Rohit Sharma had 200s. You have Warner, who has been amongst the run. Finch. So
even Shakib Al Hasan with 200s, and hence you see Bangladesh there. Look at the number of 50+ scores, and of course the ones converted to hundreds. South Africa and below, not a single 100.
Exactly. So that's pretty much sums it up for them. So they'll have to start scoring those runs, and the experienced players needs to come to the party and score those runs. So because they're bowling first now, if their bowling continues to be effective how they have been, and they get Pakistan out early, then it will be a help for their batting to just kind of settle the nerves, take more time than normal, because usually to get back in form, if you have more time in hand and you're not rushing things, then that allows you to take the right decision in the middle. So that's something which should help, provided they have an impact on the game in the first innings.
Yeah, Faf wasn't asked at the toss what he would have done, but do you reckon that, he might have opted to bowl first?
That was something we wanted to know as well. Zach reckoned that they would probably bowl first, but it would be interesting to know what they would have done on that kind of a wicket, given their bowling lineup and the way they've been bowling. So they probably were. Maybe they would have had that in mind, that they've been bowling better than they've been batting, so they probably wanted to back their bowling on a fresher wicket. You never know.
Yeah, sometimes it can be mind games as well. If you've been asked to bowl first, you say, yeah, that's what we wanted to do anyway. Thank you, very, very happy. Inside you're thinking, oh my God, what we're doing. Anyway, that's probably the kind of secret you like to keep guarded when you're making your My 11 Circle teams. I certainly don't like to tell anyone what I'm doing. And this is how you do it. There's lots of you playing. In case of you, if you want to join afresh, download the app, get onto the game today, which is Pakistan, South Africa, create your own team, and doesn't he come back every single time? Just when you're thinking you've got No pressure to make your team. Sourav Ganguly comes and puts you under pressure. But he's got a reward for you. 5 times the amount of cash if you can beat the expert in Sourav Ganguly. Well, coming back to South Africa, I know we've not been shy of using the C word. There was a time after that rain delay and other things, we used to say, oh, we call it the C word. South Africans themselves have said, listen, don't call it the C word. If we thought we've choked in the past, we've choked in the past. We want to use the word and get over it. I don't think they've had a tournament like that. They've just had other problems.
Not. No, they absolutely haven't had a chokers tournament. They've just not played the quality of cricket that we know South Africans to play. They play a quality of cricket that's very high, and we just haven't seen that in this World Cup, this edition of the World Cup. We really haven't seen them go out there and dominate and feel the way they do. For me, that I think is what makes all the difference. For me, they are the ones who've set the standard of good fielding in world cricket. And today, for them not to meet their own standards that they've met is, I think, a sign of how they feel as a unit, or how what emotions run within that group and the energy within that group. So for me, I think they just haven't played good cricket. They haven't been chokers in this tournament for sure.
What did Faf du Plessis have to say about this edition so far? And he says, he admits it's tough, like you can feel in the dressing room the guys are hurting. He said he's feeling 5 years older. That's what made the headlines. Unfortunately, we're just not being keen. As good as the opposition that we've played against, that's a skill thing. It's not a hunger thing. It's not a determination thing. It's not a fight thing. So I think the one thing he's really summed up saying, it's a skill thing. We just have not been good enough on the park. Don't question our hunger. Don't question our desire.
We've heard before the tournament as well, Faf was wanting to take the pressure off winning from the team. He wanted to send that message of just going out there, enjoying the cricket and playing it hard. So that's something which he was trying to communicate. Unfortunately, their batting has not come to the party. The other things which have not happened is the injury list, which was getting longer and longer. Loss of Steyn has not helped them. Ngidi has been on and off, so that's something which has not helped their cause either. Chris Morris didn't start the World Cup, came to the World Cup after a couple of matches and has been one of their key performers. On the whole, I feel that they just couldn't really get things going. So Faf, in saying that the hunger was there, it's just that the skill has not backed it, is somewhere sums up their tournament so far. So and the want to win was seen in the previous match as well, when they played against New Zealand. Really fought hard, just didn't go their way. But for them, I think it's important that they get some wins with decent teams under their belt. It doesn't matter now. They know that they're pretty much out of the tournament. But I think just for a team, because cricket is still going to go on right after the World Cup. So that's something which is important for that group to walk away from this tournament with some positives. Some positives to look back, and especially with regard to keeping that group together. Because that is something which is going to be important, considering there were some external factors also which were playing in their World Cup campaign. So it's important that as a group they stay tight and play for pride, win some matches.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's not happened for them, we've seen it with other teams. I mean, New Zealand yesterday, for example, 2 first ball ducks. They still go on to 291. India, Rohit Sharma gets a beauty, doesn't score anything. Virat Kohli comes to the party, gets you a decent score. Same with England. Jason Roy suddenly hamstring out after that fabulous innings. Somebody else comes to the party. That's what hasn't happened. One person doesn't, somebody else also doesn't.
Well, yeah, because essentially the batting has never been an issue as far as who are there are concerned. But the fact that they lost bowlers and key bowlers, in the first couple of games is what kind of hurt them a lot. And that had a huge impact on the morale of the side. And the fact that Amla isn't in best of form and Quinton de Kock didn't get going has impacted their campaign in a massive way. It's not that they're a bad side. They're high quality players, and they will always be considered high quality players. It's just that they haven't come off in this campaign. Moving forward, like Zach Bhai said, I think they would want to take wins away so that this group going forward goes forward positively, and that there's growth in the future.
But for now, we have to obviously focus on the campaign at hand. What about for Pakistan? Because they've had a bit of a break, and on the other hand, it can be happy for you. It may not be quite that happy. Have a look at their campaign so far. 16th of June was when they played against India at Old Trafford. That's, of course, the high-intensity game, and they've got New Zealand, Afghanistan, Bangladesh still to come. But from after a loss like a big game like to India, will the break actually help them just to take a few days off to refocus?
I think it will. There is no doubt about it. When you have a bad game, you have certain things which you want to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. So that's something which they'll have an opportunity to work on that. Have some specific sessions. In terms of bowlers, batters, some team bonding activity, maybe. Just to get the group together. So those kind of things you can do if you have a longish break in between. So I'm sure they must have ticked all those boxes, not counting the mall incident.
I was going to say, shopping as well? No, not shopping.
Yeah, but I think it's important as well. So you come back fresh because they still have 4 games in hand. So if they win all the matches, they can still end up on 11 points. So they should look at the tournament at this stage in that fashion. Take confidence from the England game. So England is a decent side in this tournament. They've lost 2 games, yes, but it's not easy to beat England. On any particular day, you have quality side which you've already beaten in the tournament. So they should focus on those kind of positives going forward. They have the batting. Hafiz has been in good form. Their two openers have been doing a decent job. And Babar Azam has looked good. So if their batting comes together, that is going to set the tone for them, I think, even in this match, because their batting first is highly important that they get that start decently, set that platform, get to as close to the 300 runs as possible. That should be the first target. And then now with Shaheen Shah Afridi also coming back in the side, the bowling will also be strengthened. They have a good leg spinner who can have an impact on the game. So all in all, it's all going to be dependent on how they play this game, because after that India and Pakistan game, such a high pressure, lot of criticism, not only from the fans, from authorities to everyone, I think have been criticizing them. So this is the time, at times you've seen teams coming together and respond well.
Yeah.
It has happened to them in the past as well. You look at Champions Trophy as well. They ended up winning that tournament. They were down and out. You've seen in this tournament as well, Sri Lanka turning things around by winning against England. So you have to look at things in this manner and give yourself the best chance. End of the day, you can figure out what the result is. You can't focus too much on result. You just have to go out there and express yourself.
We know your views on the whole mall incident, but do you think everything else was also slightly blown out of proportion? Even the yawn, which was funny for a while, but the point is that he even asked about it at the press conference.
Well, yeah. See, these are things when things are going bad. Literally everything hits the fan, right? And everything seems like a bad thing. Everything seems like a negative. Everything, it's very easy to, put a blame on somebody. But if you look at I think the break obviously would definitely help them, because not only was it a high pressure game, was an also emotionally high strung game. Right, so you want to come back to your normal self, and what one tends to see or notice with this Pakistan side is that they're trying to compete with the rest of the world individually. Like you see their openers, they want to be like Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan. You want to see Babar Azam wants to be Virat Kohli. I think that's where they're kind of missing the plot. What they should possibly be doing is, I want to be the best Fakhar Zaman I can be. I want to be the best Imamul Haq I can be. I want to be the best Muhammad Amir I can be. Focus on themselves and try to be the best version of themselves. I want to be the best Sarfraz Ahmad that I can be. As a leader, I want to be the best leader that I can possibly be. And when they start going within themselves, they'll start finding resources that bring out the best for themselves. I think that's what will draw inspiration. I'm sure the fact that they lost to India, they had a few days off, and the fact that these things happen, these incidents happen, like the mall incident, and everyone taking them, to town on criticism, would actually bring the team together, would be a great opportunity to bring this team together. And now if they went within themselves and drew those resources from within themselves and got together as a team, you probably will see a different team on the field. And that's what That's what we call Pakistan as an unpredictable side. But if they can do it consistently enough, they won't be unpredictable.
Interesting thought there. Amit Shahzada used to always see, he really groomed himself like
Yeah.
Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
Even though he denied it. You could see every bit of him, the walk, the movements, the swag, it was all there. But the man with the swag and the man with the questions, not in studio today, but he's got his fabulous bank that he's left us with. What's the question he's picked for us today in our Joy Factor teaser? Yes, here it is. In Test cricket, if it's Akila Dhananjaya for Sri Lanka, Alfred Hall for South Africa, Mohammad Zahid for Pakistan, and Alf Valentine for the West Indies, then who is it for India? I love questions like this, absolutely love questions like this that you can't simply search for. So 4 apparently disconnected people have done something or have some association with their respective countries. What is that association with Team India? Hashtag Cricbuzz Live, get your answers in. Quickest one will be mentioned on the show. And we know one person who's a favorite to do that. We suspect it could be Joy's alter ego, but we're not saying anything more about that. For now, just a quick prediction, gentlemen. I know we've got this long discussion going on whether or not the My 11 Circle expert couch should be predicted in the 15th over. We have still got the producers considering that, but for now, let's do a blind prediction as we have been doing.
I'm very skeptical about this prediction because every time I've said something, it's gone the opposite.
Okay, this time I'll start things off, right? Because I generally, otherwise, I go last and I sort of go either side of the experts. So I'm going to go for 242. 242 for Pakistan batting first, having won the toss. I may be completely off the mark, but Zaheer, you can go second.
282.
All right, 242, 282.
255.
Squeezed right in between. 2 parking slots taken by 2 of them. He comes and parks beautifully in between the other 2. Excellent. Well done. We've got a big spread to look for. No one's yet heading for 300. Little skeptical maybe about what's happened in the last 48 hours. Exciting games. All I can say is if it's anything around the 240, 250 range, not only will I be sitting on the My 11 Circle expert couch, we might just have another cliffhanger. We'll see you in the 15th over for Cricbuzz Combox. And then, of course, after 50 overs, on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.